It's playoff time, and we'd like to find out what to expect for our Wolves as they kick it off next week. Coach Chad Johnson, Shawnee High School head basketball coach. How's it going?
It's good. Everything is good. I can't complain, and it's another day in the life of a coach, and so I'm blessed.
Well, it was a blessing for me to meet CJ, and see AJ again up in the stands. And I understand your whole family is CJ's.
Yeah. It's funny how that works out. My dad's name is Clifford. Ironically, today's his birthday, so shout out to my pops. Happy birthday to him. My mom's name is Cynthia. I'm obviously Chad, and my brother's name is Connor. So kind of cool little thing there that we're all CJ, and I'm fortunate to be now. I'm breaking some news here on the public stream, so whoever sees this, you get some insider information. I'm actually now married to my
Yeah.
wife AJ as of this weekend, so very
Congratulations,
blessed. Yeah,
Chad.
it's pretty cool.
Yes.
Um, Getting
What a
used to wearing a ring, and I don't really wear too much jewelry, so that's pretty different for me, but it's a blessing nonetheless.
Oh man, so happy for you and for AJ and
Appreciate it.
CJ and Cynthia.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, and I bet Connor's pretty happy too. I mean, let's just
Yeah,
make it
he
all.
was, he was, he was. It was pretty cool. And so
Well, I have a confession to make. When I sat down with your dad, Cliff, CJ, I asked him about his OCU or OCC career, and we talked about Hoffman a little bit, had a few chuckles, and I asked him the years he was there, and I think he said 83, 84, or 84, 85 in that area, and I was going, okay, so that was when, and then I remembered, wait, that was right after. I got confused because that was right after we left Shawnee, so I probably did not see him play.
got you.
My brother graduated in '82, and my parents, I was the last of six, took me right about that time before I came back, finished up at OBU. So he would played right there in the window. I didn't get to see the first CJ Johnson in town.
I got you. I got you. Yeah, those were the golden days in District 9 when
Yeah.
small college basketball was arguably the cream of the crop in college basketball, especially in Oklahoma, at least.
Yes, and I was privileged. That's what brought me back was tennis, and we played District 9, and that was a lot of fun. And yeah, nothing but a blessing to have come back to our hometown. 8 people in my family graduated from Shawnee High School. All of our kids, my wife. Just a beautiful, beautiful story. So happy birthday to CJ Senior
There you go.
Cliff. All right.
Yes, sir.
Well,
Yes, sir.
we finished out a good week of basketball, finished out your season. And, I don't think it finished how Coach Johnson would have liked, but it did play out according to the standings. You guys getting beat by Booker T and then by Collinsville, two very good teams. Talk a little bit about this last couple of weeks of the season, what you've learned, and then I'm going to ask you to do a full season analyzation of what's going on.
Yeah. Man, it's weird because I try to look at everything both on the macro level and the micro level. And I really do try to stay as present as possible while also taking inventory of each game. And so I think if you were to have, told me in November, where do you want us to be at the end of the season, or at least at the end of the regular season, I would say we're probably pretty close to where I thought we should be. I mean, the last week, obviously, you're playing the number one team in 5A and Booker T. And we had some guys out with some sickness, and so that was unfortunate. But I knew that was going to be a tough game regardless. And then, yesterday against Collinsville, the number 2 team in our district, a state tournament team from the last couple of years. So I knew that was going to be a tough game as well. Although we played them pretty well the first time we played them. So I mean, outside of just playing to our standard and really trying to maximize our potential. I wouldn't say that there was much disappointment in the game or how the game transpired. I thought there was definitely some things in both games that we can learn from that will ultimately help us moving forward. But overall, I mean, I would never say I went into the game expecting to lose or hoping to lose by any means. But I knew that for us to win those games, we'd have to play really well and do a lot of things at a high level. And in the Booker T game, at least, we did that for a half. I mean, we were right there within striking distance at halftime, down 9. And, Booker T, obviously being who they are and who they have been, really put their stamp on that game in the third quarter there and kind of created some separation. And then last night against Collinsville, we just really couldn't buy a basket. I think we ended up shooting 14 of 40 from the field, which I'm not a math major, but I know that's not very good. And we missed just several easy shots around the rim, shots that we normally make. And, when you don't see the ball go in a few times, it definitely does something both mentally and psychologically, I think, at times. And so just trying to understand how to, continue to compete, even if the ball's not going in the hoop. And so that would be kind of my biggest takeaways from the last week, I would say.
Well, yeah, Collinsville coming in at 22-3 and Booker T 22-1, of course. And not only one of the best teams or the best team in 5A. It's all to play out, though. Of course, it's anybody's gold ball. They're recognized as the top or the number 2 team since they were beat by Millwood in the state.
Yeah.
I certainly understand that. You come in 7-7 in district play, so you end up placed 5th place in District 5A3. Over the course of the year, Coach, does any games stand out in maybe that you'd like to talk about, or you could talk about, that would point towards, the growth of your team and the positive nature of how the season has gone from early December here through mid-February?
Yeah. I'm gonna look up here at my schedule just to gather some
And
thoughts.
while you're doing that, I want to say I the first game of the year was a district game against Coweta. They beat you by 12, and then you came back on the 4th of February, beat them by 4, but they pulled out a big victory last night against Edison to grab that 4th spot. And hats off to them. They won it. You kind of like that about teams when they go out and they take their position.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you want to talk about a game or even just kind of a period of time, I thought coming back from that Shawnee Invitational break where we had the snow days, I thought that was kind of a pivotal time for us because at that point we had just lost 4 in a row, I believe. And
You'd
we
come up.
obviously had some unfortunate circumstances at the Noble tournament. And so we were kind of playing with this cloud over us and trying to figure out how to get back off the ropes. And we come back from that break and we play Bishop Kelly, ended up beating them. And then we turn around and played Coweta and beat them, obviously, like we said. But even before that, I thought we played really well and showed a lot of growth in that El Reno game in the tournament on that first day of the tournament. And so I thought that was kind of a pivotal time for us because, I mean, if we don't win those games, the season looks a lot different and there's probably less optimism for our continued growth. And so I thought that was very transformative for our season in that week and a half, 2-week span for us to continue to see and be able to figure out, hey, this is good. We need to continue to do this. Hey, this is not as good, or we can improve this. So let's focus on that. And so I think that week in particular is something that kind of stands out to me. And of course, we've obviously won some games since then. We've lost some games since then. But I thought that was a very pivotal point in our season.
Well, we've talked about some of those young guys coming up, and um, that's a really big point for you to make about a particular time in the season where things were in the balance.
Yeah,
With that losing streak and being able to turn it around. I mean, that's like in far memory now,
yeah.
and that's so important to keep young kids' morale and to keep people plugged in.
It is 1,000%, and I mean that's the beauty of playing a sport like basketball, where you play a number of games in such a concentrated time. Because I mean, whether it's just because of lack of sleep or having other things on my mind, I don't really even remember a lot of the games prior to Christmas. I mean, obviously there's certain games that if I looked at the schedule, I can pinpoint and say, oh yeah, I remember this particular possession in this particular game or this particular situation. But overall, I look at everything from a growth perspective and try to figure out, are we getting better? And I actually brought that up to our team last night in terms of just what we've talked about since November about being our best or trending in the right direction in February. And I wouldn't say we've peaked or we've really kind of hit our stride, but I do think we are very cognizant. We're much more mindful of doing things a certain way. And I think that ultimately that will help us going into the playoffs.
I would agree. I liked to be able to hear you speak to your team prior to the Booker T game, and you were talking about playing against your own standard. And you had mentioned the Bishop Kelly game as the one game this year, really, that you felt like they could relate that, hey, that is us playing our game. And if we play like that, it doesn't matter if it's Booker T or it's Bishop Kelly. You're going to be in the game when you play up to your standard. Talk a little bit about that and talk about what was that Kelly game? What did you see in that Kelly game that you want to make sure is the standard for Shawnee High School basketball?
Yeah, that's a good question. And it seems like a relatively simple question, but I think there's a lot of layers there as I do my own reflecting and just observations. The one thing that I know that has always been the case in basketball and even in sports is that like it's a psychological thing. Like truth of the matter is your ceiling is relative to the guys in your locker room, and your ceiling obviously determines, what your success could or should look like. But I felt like the Bishop Kelly game was a very good indicator of what it could look like if we play to our standard from our team, right? And every team is different. This team isn't the same team as last year, and it won't be the same team as next year, based on the personnel. But I think the biggest thing that coaches in general try to uh, get their program and their team to understand is that based on the level of talent, based on the personnel, you want to try to maximize your potential. You want to try to reach your ceiling. And I think that alone will help you gauge where you are in terms of your performance, your coaching ability, your ability to maximize your talent, because everybody can say, hey, our goal is to make the state tournament. And I think there's nothing wrong with setting lofty goals. I think that obviously, especially with young people, gives them something to work towards. But I think that beyond that, it's about, okay, well, what do we need to do to get there? What does that look like for our team? How are we going to uh, put a product on the floor that would ultimately yield the results to get us that way? So I say all that to say, I felt like that Bishop Kelly game was a very good indicator of what it looks like when we're clicking on all cylinders. We're really locked in, and our approach more than anything is right. And I thought that was ultimately a benefit to us, just kind of really, really being locked in going into the game.
So there's about a 9 day difference from the end of the year, your last district game, over to playoffs. actually beginning. You're going to be probably, well, we know you're going to be up against Claremore, who finished fourth in District 5A4. You're going to be playing in Tulsa next Thursday. We'll do an update of time perhaps next week, but we know you're going to be in Tulsa next Thursday, probably at Booker T. They'll probably be the host school for you. Talk a little bit about your approach to this week in the next 7 days, in what you're going to be working on, or what's the important things that you want to hit on with your team as you prepare for the playoffs.
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity for us to reset. I told the guys after the game and even before they got off the bus that now everybody's 0-0. Everything is still in front of us, regardless of how we finished in the district, how we finished the season or the regular season. And so that should hopefully provide some clarity and some confidence to go into the playoffs. But truth of the matter is, every coach is probably saying that to their team, so that's not really groundbreaking. Um, but I think that for us, it's a great opportunity for us to really focus on the details, really clean up a lot of the things that we maybe struggled with, and really re-emphasize some of the things that we've been doing well. And so it'll be a great opportunity for us to spend some time focusing on us. You know, we'll obviously be prepared for Claremore, probably starting Monday, and then we'll really spend the next 2 or 3 days really trying to clean up some of the mistakes and just understand, hey, this is why uh, we haven't been successful, or hey, this is why we have been successful. So we got to really understand the why behind what we're trying to do. And I think that's super important, especially at this time of year, because while there's probably an avenue where we could definitely implement some new schemes or concepts or philosophies, I do think at the end of the day, you're only as good as your habits. And so being able to reinforce our habits and really making sure that everybody's on the same page, everybody understands what we're trying to get accomplished. And so when they're out there on the floor, it's relatively second nature.
Talk a little bit about that on the habit topic, in the sense of what are the habits that you see your team has now coming into playoffs that really excites you, that really is like, hey, this is an accomplishment. I like these habits.
Yeah, I would say there's nothing specifically that I could point to on the floor.
Okay.
Uh, I think more so than anything with this group in particular, it's truly about the approach. And I'm just of the mindset that the more they can see, the more they can uh, go through on the floor and understand, that will help them and pay dividends. Because the truth of the matter is this: they're all talented basketball players in their own right. They're all skilled in one way or the other. And I, for one, try to make sure they understand that I believe them. If they're on the floor, I have confidence in them making the right plays. But they don't really quite understand what they need to do in most circumstances. And when I say that, like, you're almost having to program them. Like,
Okay.
defensively, they have to understand, hey, if this happens, this is what I'm supposed to do. Because not that they aren't competent, but if they're left up to their own devices, they're just going to react, and that might not always be the right play to be made. And on the offensive end, they have to understand, hey, if we're running this play, if we're running this action, this is what we're trying to get accomplished. And then outside of that, it's just basketball, and then you have to be able to go make the right play. But they have to understand the structure and the confines in which they're working in. And so I think that for me and our staff, this is an opportunity for us to really kind of get into the film and say, hey, if we continue to do this, or we keep doing this thing and this is not helping us, or this is not working. And so for me, it's like, okay, well, if I'm telling you to go right and you keep going left, I can't assume that you just don't understand. I have to look at myself in the mirror and say, well, maybe it's the way I'm telling you this, or maybe you're not quite understanding this from this perspective. So I'm going to take that on myself to say, okay, if this is what we're trying to get accomplished, and you may not understand it. I'm going to try to figure out a way to convey that to you in a way that you understand it. And so I think, again, that was a long way of me just saying that I think this time, these next few days will be very, very beneficial for us, because I think that once we go into the game with the preparation in tow, we'll be fine. And I think at the end of the day, you do have to go compete and play as hard as you can, and play unselfishly. And I think when we play that way, we're really hard to beat, and I think that outside of that, we've got to be able to rely on some of the other aspects of our game, because I would imagine that Claremore is going to have film on us. They're going to know what we're going to try to be accomplishing and who we're going to try to get the ball to. And so that's where we have to be able to say, okay, if they took this away from us, let's get to our next action, or let's get to our next set of things offensively. And then defensively, how do we impose our will and try to take what they're trying to do away from them?
That makes sense, Coach. And this week you've got practice in front of you. Let the players know that on our next show, you're going to be talking about who's had that great week of practice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's highlight some of the guys who have really bought in, in this week and are really prepared to hit the floor the next day, which will be Thursday. So
absolutely.
Playoffs for the Wolves begin next Thursday. It will be in Tulsa, probably at Booker T. Washington. They will be playing Claremore out of District 5A4. Coach Chad Johnson, thank you, man. Always. Thank you.
Man, it's always a pleasure, Daniel. I appreciate you, and go Wolves.
And happy birthday, Cliff.
Thank
Love
you.
it.
He probably will see that. He usually takes time out of his day to watch the show. So I'll tell him nonetheless, though.
All right. And thank you all for watching with us. The Chad Johnson Shawnee High School Basketball Coaches Show right here on ShawneeCTV, where together we build community one season